Joining me on the desk today is Ruler of Men. How you doing?
Doing all right on this fine Monday evening. Should have a nice, exciting set coming through as we see the first ban Raijin. Even after his nerfs in that last patch, he is still potent.
Raijin, definitely the first one off table, and followed up with an Athena ban. Now we see Athena very common across the board, such as the Chernobog 2, these global ultimates, ability to pressure the entirety of the map, where some teams may struggle with the global pressure, and some teams may use it to their advantage to be able to just fly from one end to the other, not worry about my lane, and head on over. And, similarly with the Ratatasker.
Yeah, definitely seeing a high prioritization of these global and semi-global gods. I mean, they're just so easy to use. Am I out of position? No, I'm on the other side of the map now. What are you talking about? That and with the Ratatosker, just being able to gank from past ward vision is really the main factor you're looking for. I don't have to walk over your wards. I don't care. I'm going to ult from the Gold Fury pit. What are you going to do about it? He's just so strong, has great burst damage. I love seeing him banned.
Definitely opens up a lot of potential for early pressure, and I think that's where a lot of teams are seeing their success so far this season, especially being able to gank where we're lacking ward vision, because a lot of teams are doing a really good job of getting ward vision down, deeper ward vision, but those global ults, like you were saying, are really just going to negate that for them, and these global ults are just going to come flying in, get the ganks off, apply the pressure early, and get some early leads over in some lanes.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, I just feel like the game is so jungle focused. You can get a jungler ahead, and they can just put up so much pressure.
Teams decide and start moving in some of these scaling bans. We see the Oleron and the Merlin coming out to round off our first bans, and a Mamad Brigitte slammed in that first pick. No real surprise there. She's new god, a lot of burst potential, a lot of just potential in general, and still a little bit of a mystery for some of these players.
Yeah, definitely. She's just incredibly strong. She doesn't care if you build defense because of her passive. Just ignoring it. I'm just going to do health damage. Don't care. Just incredibly strong, but suffers a little bit in that early game. So might not have necessarily the early game of a more heavy pressure kind of jungler like a Thanatos, Thor, Ravana. So have to play a little bit more careful in that early game. But she is so strong come mid to late.
No, absolutely. A lot of burst damage coming out. The ability to just sit inside of another person while she's dealing damage to them. And let's not forget the knockup on that ultimate. CC immunity into a knockup. The second form of CC that is absolutely, second best form of CC besides death, obviously. So over on the Chaos side, now we see a Soul and a Fenrir. We saw a couple Soul picks earlier in the week. Well, earlier in week one, where we see these magical ADCs coming through. And I'm sure that's why we see the run ban as well over on the Order side.
Yeah, even with the nerfs to pretty much every item that Mage ADCs built, they're still usable. I think that a lot of it just comes down to comfort in lane, and Soul is just such a lane bully that it's hard to say, she's not a good pick. Just relatively safe using that Disapparate, full immunity, just to get out of sticky situations as well as just having a ton of poke in lane. And then the Fenrir, which is a really good pick to try to abuse that Mammon in the early game because he's just so strong with that early brutalize. And then we see an immediate counter pick come out against that Fenrir, going to get the Ganesha, give him the no play zone, cancel anything he wants to do, and then even the Artemis. They both have CC immune ults. He ults, he gets Tusky. It's just a tough time for Fenrir.
Yeah, Fenrir's definitely going to have a tough time getting in there. He's going to have to really abuse the fact that he has that early game pressure. Now, I know you were kind of saying that, this Fenrir being able to pressure the map and apply the early pressure across. I'm almost wondering, seeing the Soul pick over here, if we're going to see a Fenrir support. That's going to apply a lot of pressure in that lane in early game. Obviously, with the Ganesha Artemis now, it might be a little bit different of the case. Once they open up some of these picks over on the Order side, and we see a Tsukiyomi here, and I'm kind of starting to lean towards that as well still.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility seeing that Tsukiyomi picked up. Now, Tsukiyomi did just get buffed. They finally reverted
Oh, I'm so
his
happy.
2 to the point where it is knockup immune, so you finally don't get interrupted every second of your life trying to land a Tsukiyomi stun. So I could see that either in the jungle or even a solo laner. Just so incredibly potent with all this poke damage.
Anyone who knows me has been hearing me preach about wanting Tsukiyomi's knockup immunity back on that too. It just feels so um stiff almost without it. And I've always, even after I know it's been out of the game for quite a while, I still always think I'm knockup immune during it and always getting knocked up and canceled, and it doesn't feel fun. There are some power bands coming through right here with the Baba Yaga, followed by the Thoth, followed by the Morgan Le Fay and the Apuash. A ton of mages who are very comfortable over in the solo lane, and some very strong burst mages over in the mid lane. I can see definitely what the focus is right now for both of these teams.
Yeah, I mean those mages in solo are just so strong, as well as just Baba and Thoth in that mid lane are terrifying. As we see a third assassin picked up,
Ooh.
that's an interesting one. You could tell me any of those gods were going into any of the three roles, and I would believe it. Any of them could be be solo support or jungle.
We've seen a
Just depends
lot
on
of
how spicy.
flexibility in the assassin god pool over the past, well, forever almost, really. And last year with a lot of last year and this year with a lot of those assassin in the mid lanes too. Maybe we're seeing a Tsukiyomi mid here. Maybe we're seeing a Fenrir support here. Maybe we're seeing a Fenrir support solo, Suki solo. There, like you said, the possibilities are endless, and it looks like Ice Age doesn't really know what to do, so they're going to lean over on the fact of let's get some safe picks over here. Okay, we have our Ganesha Artemis. Okay, we have our Sun Wukong over in the solo lane. They come in on us. What are we going to do? We're going to press the 4 button, get on out. They come in on us. Discordia, what's she going to do? She's going to press the 4 button. She's going to be all happy, okay? A lot of just cancel your team fight, cancel your engage. We're going to get to safety. And then we see a Janice to follow up. Same thing what we were saying all the way at the start. Going back to those global ultimates. The ability to rotate his entire team in, though, is what makes this god absolutely potent. And especially with this aggressive team comp we see coming out over the Killer Kappas.
Yeah, definitely. These are just two strange team comps. You on one side you have a comp that's almost focused around those team fights with the Artemis, the Briquette, the Ganesha, the Discordia. And the other side you just see full on like single target, I'm going to full dive. So definitely gonna be a battle of the play styles here.
We see a lot of dive, a lot of engage over here on the Chaos side. But what they're going to have to do is really start chipping away at some of this utility over on Order side, over on Ice Sage's side. They got to get that Sun Wukong ult out of the way. They got to get the Ganesha silence out of the way, Ganesha ultimate out of the way. Get these kind of safety fields, these safety comfort, as we could say. The ability to just keep themselves alive, the utility over on the Ice Age's side before they can really do much of anything. And it's really going to come down to how well they can coordinate their dive together, making sure they're going from the same target to the next. That's what's going to make this comp probably the most efficient that it possibly could be.
Yeah, for sure. As we start to load in here, we can finally figure out. Oh, okay. We can finally start to see where these assassins start to load into. Other than that, though, two pretty solid team comps. I mean, definitely different thoughts coming out.
Definitely a lot of potential from these two team comps. Ooh. Definitely an exciting one to kick us off here at the start. I love the triple assassin here and a lot of ability. And they're not lacking in the magical department either. That is for certain. Soul's got the ability to just chip away at any objective, any tower, any Gold Fury. Doing quick objectives right here with this pick is going to be essential. And having the Janus ult to just move them from one end of the map to the other is going to open up the opportunities for those early objectives, open up the opportunity for the early ganks with this team comp.
Yeah, that or just hitting somebody for 2,000 damage from across the map. Late game. That's always an option.
I am a
You can never.
Janus ult magnet. Okay, doesn't matter. I could just be walking down, having a nice day, and all of a sudden there goes my HP bar, and I'm like, well, I'm returning to base.
Yeah,
Never a good feeling.
some people are sick nasty with it. I don't play mid. I don't really play mages like that. I play with a guy and you hit like a single crumb of CC and there's just an ult on top of somebody. It's miraculous. Just the amount of damage a mage can do with setup. Oh, 3 people walked into the jungle. Thoth for 2,500 on 3 people. It's just insane what a mage can do when they have setup. So I'm excited to see maybe this Giannis hit some big snipes.
We are moving finally into game number 1 here. Let's see where these picks end up landing. Game 1 here, Walker Division, Ice Age versus Killer Kappas. It looks like we have Lancelot moving into the jungle. All right, Suki in the solo lane and that Fenrir support. Very aggressive, very, very exciting.
Yeah, that is for sure a kill lane with that Soul Fenrir. It's just a ton of pressure compared to especially the lane they're going against with Artemis and Ganesha, who are just very lacking in that clear department early game.
There you go, push the wrong button.
Other than that, not
Alright.
seeing anything too crazy going on with builds. Everything's looking relatively standard.
A lot of standard builds coming out. We got just DPS over on the Chaos side from the Killer Kappas. Ice Age Bumba's build, very standard for your mage junglers. They want to get that Bumba Spear online because that's where most of their potential comes in. Getting late game, getting that Bumba Spear, being able to just kind of walk over, clear a camp, and honestly, you can just clear one of the roaming minions, and you get that Bumba Spear passive. That's huge, and a lot of people don't really realize that. Hopefully their team allows them to do that.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of those things that later in the game you really have to be cognizant of. You just have to say, hey guys, I need to clear that. I get extra power.
Can you?
And I, get like half of my health bar back. I get all my health back, please. Then on the other hand, you see junglers go Seer of the Jungle, and then their team just clears camps, and you're like, I just want to clear wards, guys, please.
No, we don't need to get rid of the vision. Wards don't win games.
No, just buy sentries. Don't worry about your passive.
Definitely going to be fighting for a lot of clear right here. See if they can get their safety clear going and then get their farm online. And Ice Age is going to be really looking to just scale into the mid game, scale into the late game, avoid this early pressure that is going to be coming out of the Killer Kappas.
Yeah, as we already see some pretty good poke coming out onto the Sun Wukong. And he is going to fall.
Nice early kill from the Tsukiyomi over here.
Yeah, definitely. He just has so much pressure with that blue stone early. Just so many abilities, so much tick damage, just way more range than the Sun Wukong as well, so pretty tough to deal with. Do you see some low health bars coming out in the mid lane? Not quite going to be able to get that kill is the Lancelot, but
the Mumber Jet falling to the Janice. Very good pickup from, is that Natsiux?
No. Again, nothing too crazy going on. Couple of early kills coming out.
Return early clear. Hopefully this Wukong doesn't fall too far behind as a result of that Tsukiyomi early pick. As we move over to the mid lane. Disco, a lot of low health bars. Speaking of early picks, very quick gang coming out. And it unfortunately did not work out in the favor. Tsukiyomi picking up another, and Maman Burjette following it up. A 1-for-1 over here in the solo lane side.
I mean, you can't be too upset with the 1-for-1. I mean, he's a Tsukiyomi. He had 2 kills. You're shutting him down. Getting a little bit of something out of that, but it certainly does not feel good to go ahead and beat the Sun Wukong in that predicament. Zero certainly isn't feeling too good after that one.
Hopefully you can definitely get that farm. We need to see this Sun Wukong get into a safety point. I'm almost wondering if he needs to abide going for some defense a little bit earlier, or is finishing the soul leader going to be the best option for him?
That's a tough one. I mean, at this point, you're kind of committed to it.
Absolutely.
If you choose not to finish it now, you're not going to be able to clear very well. You're missing out on a big power spike. So I think you just kind of have to play way more carefully and just suck it up, take your beatings for a little bit, and then finally get your breastplate online.
An attempted invade over here from the Chaos side. Killer Kappas coming in for the purple buff, but attempted and unsuccessful. There we go. Good morning. Right. Players starting to hit level 5 as we're moving across the map. Everyone able to secure their buffs. I'm sure they are very happy on Ice Age for that.
Yeah, definitely can't be too upset getting your own buffs. No real invades have happened, just a couple of kills. One interesting thing to note is, Fenrir did choose that health chalice in the beginning. Interesting to see whether or not that pays off.
Oh, that tells me. That just says, I want to fight all day. I want to fight in lane. I want to fight in the jungle. I want to go in. I want to be aggressive. I want to be this whole feeling. Huge ultimate coming out. Good night. Goodbye. Double explosive magical ball.
Ooh, Lancelot just off the mark gets stunned. He's not going to get anything there. That's so unlucky. That was a great stun.
Good peel coming out from Midgard for his Discordia over here. Enough to get them out and get them back to their return clear and make sure that their pick is not going down for a trade.
Just great pick. Just willing to dump both of those ultimates. Oh, okay. I don't care. Honestly, that's just the right way to play.
Absolutely.
They have a cooldown for a reason. They come back up.
A lot of players worried about not using their ultimate. Oh, I gotta save it for the special moment. That is the special moment, hon. Use it, get the kill, get your lead, and there you go. That's gonna move you into the mid-late game a lot better than holding on to it.
Exactly, just throwing that out there. Just the special moment is this guy just walked up in front of me. That's it. That's all I need.
Not a big
it's a Giannis not next to a wall. What
Right.
more do I need?
Catch him out in the middle of the lane. All right. Not a big deal. He's really looking for something off this Lancelot rotations. He was a little unsuccessful in the mid lane. Tried rotating over to duo. Unfortunately, caught the Artemis right as she was back. I'm wondering if we're going to see another rotation over for this purple buff, but it's not to say that Midgard over here isn't already ready with it on the Maman Bridget. Making a slow rotation here. Fenrir's got his eyes on her, though, and he doesn't want anything to do. And another solo kill over in the solo lane. I guess that's why they call it that.
Yeah, definitely having some trouble over there with the Sun Wukong, and I mean that's definitely understandable. Just the amount of poke damage that comes out of a good Tsukiyomi is impossible to overstate. I'm regret though picking up that kill onto the soul. Not going to be dealing too much with that damage. Not quite able to truly get online. Giannis comes out looking for a little bit of a rotation, not going to find anything, however, everybody's already backed off.
Killer Kappas, friends, guys, you could see their jungler, right? You know he was there. Fenrir was eyeballing him. What are we doing going for that invade? Let's slow it down a little bit. I love the pressure. I really do. Get these wards down, understand where your support is, and that's what's going to help you guys get these invades off.
Now, one thing I'd like to point out is that you were talking about Sun Wukong building defense, right?
Oh yeah.
That's not physical defense.
That's not the defense of the guy who's been killing him. No,
that is not.
We see Kusari coming out right away.
That's an interesting choice. I mean, there's not a whole lot of magic damage that he's gonna have to see anytime soon.
What are we thinking here? We're gonna see a Shoguns. We're gonna see a maybe what's it, Genjis?
Probably just a Genjis. I mean, it's such a good item. Cooldown, MP5, health. It's such a good, well-rounded item. I just would love to see him get a little bit more physical defense while he's still kind of struggling with the Tsukiyomi.
Tsukiyomi is definitely having his way with him, getting these blue buff invades off of him by himself, applying that lane pressure all on his own. No support from anybody else. Sun Wukong's really got to do enough to alleviate as we see a fight coming here in mid. Disco Ult coming out, Ganesh Ult coming out. It looks like we end up getting a Game of Shadows ends up taking out Naziax on the Janus.
Yeah, definitely.
Lancelot comes in. Moving in on the Maman Bridget. Does he secure the kill? The Ganesha silence is enough for the peel, and Maman Bridget gets out 1 HP in a dream. Shell popped over here by the Ganesha, and they end up walking away happily.
Yeah, that was an absolutely great ohm coming out from that Ganesha. Really just putting a stop to that Brigitte getting chased down. And this Giannis, I just need to see them playing a little bit closer to these walls. It seems like they get caught out just a little bit too far from them. All of a sudden, they're disco ulted, so even if they get to the wall, they can't go through it, and it's just over.
I think it was that same thing we were saying over on the duo lane side when we saw the invaded. let's be a little bit safe, you know. We got our ward vision. We understand where our team is over here. Maybe I need to play on the left side of the lane this time. Maybe I need to play on the right side of the lane this time. Maybe I don't use my portal for a bit of poke damage, you know? Understand where we can use some of these abilities, where we can be a little bit aggressive, but where we need to be safe is going to help him out.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, at the same time, we're not looking at too much of a deficit yet. We're only looking at about 1,000 or so of a gold lead, so nothing too crazy coming out right now.
1,000 gold in 9 minutes. I definitely agree. Nothing too crazy as of yet. Wonder where we're going to see this pressure get applied, because as we start transitioning into the mid to late game, this team count from the Killer Kappas is going to start to slow itself down. And that's where we're going to see Ice Age's team count coming up as we... Good night, Natsiux. Was a very, very nice Discordia ult, but not a big deal coming in. Ends up trading his own life for follow-up.
Yeah, I get that. Mon Brigette putting so much damage onto this Fender. Great knockup from the Ganesha is going to put him onto the gray screen. That is a triple kill for Midgod, and this is not where you want to be. This Mon Brigette has just been an absolute menace along with this Discordia in this mid lane, putting this Giannis so far behind.
Midgod right now is saying to the enemy team, he's like, okay, you know, it's very nice that you banned all these global ults, we banned all these global ults, but you kind of left this pick up, and he's making him regret it. That is for certain. Showing him what this god is actually capable of. Maman Brigette, still so potent, still so new. Go for a solo invade here on the enemy team speed buff. And she gets it, gets away.
That's fine.
Very
I mean,
nice
that's
rotation coming
friendly.
behind the Artemis. We see Lancelot, not a big deal, coming up behind Artemis. Forces
Good
out the Artemis
Tusky.
ultimate.
Gets immediate peel.
Absolutely. Peel yourself. Done. Goodbye. What are you doing?
Leave. Get out.
Were you even
Fight the boy.
attempting to invade me? I couldn't tell. I'm sorry. I had a 4 button.
Yeah, just without having beads up for the Lancelot, there's just no chance of that going too well for him.
Did opt for the blink too himself, so definitely a difficult one. He needs to make sure he has at least an ultimate ready to go, and he can just cancel out that stun from the Tusky and then continue the pressure over on the Artemis if he wants that gank to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, right now though, we're seeing some signs of life coming from this Sun Wukong. Really, you know, we saw the mechanics come out. He had a really good Tiger Stun there to stun out the 2 on the Tsukiyomi. He says, I don't need a knockup. I don't need Ox Form. I'll just hit you with the Tiger.
Well, yeah, you know, sure he's not knockup immune. Or he's knockup immune again, but it's not stun immune. We can still cancel that ability. Yeah. Secures his own blue buff. Return to farm here for the Ice Age team. Means return to farm here for the Killer Kappas team if they start playing this safe, keeping their ward vision, which it looks like they are doing a phenomenal job at. Got a lot of wards coming out over here from the Ice Age side across the map, really setting up a wall for them, a safety net per se. As we see the first beacon open up, are we going to see some grouping up for it? Looks like Fenrir Rolio Joe is just going to walk on in and start taking it. So is Arganesha. I'm going to stand on this corner, you're going to stand on that corner. Is anybody actually going to commit to this fight yet? Let's find out. Artemis rotating in, and here comes Maman Brigette. We got a 4-man grouping here in the mid lane.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these early beacons can really set the tone for the game. If you're able to just kind of get these, you know, it helps a little bit, but realistically, you're more interested in the fight around it, getting a pick or two, and then just getting a Gold Fury off the back of it.
Oh. Talk about a quick way to really scale up a lead. I want to say an early lead, but you know, an entrance into mid-game lead kind of thing. You know, maybe you get a Gold Fury. Maybe if you took Pyromancer at the right time, it's coming up within a minute. Maybe you're opening up the mid tower to open up the map as we see a gank come out over here on this dual lane side and just blown up.
Yeah, just so much damage comes out immediately. Midgod just does so much damage with this Maman Brigette.
Quick 2 for nothing, and nothing is what they'll
get. But not gonna have to worry about that. Has the relics, no problem.
Getting these picks is going to be good, but are we going to transition it into an objective? It looks like Ice Age wants to pick up this Gold Fury.
Yeah, damage is starting to come out on it. Not seeing too many people here to respond. I don't think Giannis really knows that it's going on to attempt to snipe it with an ult, so this should just be relatively free, even if it costs Ganesha his whole health bar.
After 2 picks, I wouldn't be too certain that anyone would be wanting to walk into a potential 5v3 attempt. With especially the amount of ward vision that Ice Age has, and they secure the Gold Fury happily. And Jen is
I
not doing the
forget
Jen
taking that Giannis ult. Definitely gonna
earlier.
feel that one.
He's like, all right, that hurt. And a shutdown from our Lancelot. Not a big deal. Good job picking that up and recognizing that. It's gonna be a nice gold in the bucket for him.
Yeah, definitely a good shutdown for him. Really gonna get them back into the game. I mean, with that shutdown, they're actually just slightly ahead in gold, sitting at about 700, 800.
Such a good bounty. It's always good to capitalize off those bounties, and sometimes it's you look at it and you go, okay, well maybe it's worth trading my life for this. You know, he was coming in at that what 1, 2, and 1, and she was 7, 1, and 2. Maybe it's worth, you know, giving it all to get this pick right here.
Oh yeah, even if Lance died and somebody else got the kill, would definitely be worth it for that trade. Just a super high bounty coming out of this incredibly kill happy Mom and Brigitte.
Big is slowing down. Both teams returning to farming before this next Pyromancer is going to be spawning up, or our first Pyromancer is going to be spawning up. Maybe we want to see some towers start getting dropped. See some aggressive plays over in this middle lane. I'm sure we will very soon as we get a nice grouping over here with a little bit of poke coming out from both sides.
Yeah, good poke comes out, but nothing too crazy going to come out of it. Fenrir just takes a little bit of damage, but he's a Fenrir with Gauntlet. What are you really going to do to him?
Very aggressive positioning over in the solo lane jungle side as we see the Maman Brigitte looking for a solo lane blue buff invade. Not quite going to get it, and the Fenrir start rotating in. Recognizing this, maybe he can set up a nice little wall and ensure that nothing gets caught out in mid and nobody gets caught out for a Pyromancer to get taken.
Fenrir in a little bit of a tough spot there. Ganesha looking at him, but not going to have any follow-up to really punish there. No big deal.
You know, despite that Gold Fury going the way Ice Age, we're still only seeing a 1k game. If that even, honestly, maybe over like 600, 700, 800 gold. Fenrir maybe getting caught out here, but it looks like he's going to be happy to walk away. He's got some defense online. He's not worried. He's the support.
Yeah, definitely a really close game. I mean, a lot of it just comes down to how well Midgard and Game of Shadows have been playing through mid, but even now, after that shutdown, it's relatively even. Really, the only true differences are in the supports and the solo.
Hey man, sports win games. Sports win championships. That's true.
I believe it. As a support player myself, I put in the work.
Oh yeah, everything changes when your support player isn't just a
Isn't somebody that doesn't want to play support.
Right.
Yeah, I prefer to be the I'm just going to kill the other team kind of support.
Oh yeah, I pull out the Herculeses. You'll see me on the Fenrirs, Tears,
Fenrir,
been a fun pick lately.
Horus, you know, Sobek.
I'm supporting the team by one-shotting them. All right.
If I just annoy the other guy until he takes his hand off the keyboard, I've won. You know.
Remember, death is the best form of CC. Got our next beacon opening up soon. I wonder if we're gonna start seeing a grouping over here. Beacon, Gold Fury spawning, Pyromancer's up mid tower, and we see a solo lane tower fall. 2 towers off the map for the Ice Age's side. And we got about 15 seconds out on this second beacon. As both ADCs are starting to make their way. Not shield buff first. We're gonna stop and pick up shield buff.
You gotta fight over the shield buff. If you're not fighting over shield buff, are you even playing ADC?
Return to COD, 1v1 me, bro. No, okay. Go for the beacon. They heard the beacon.
Fenrir in a tough spot, unfortunately off the mark with the knockup is the Ganesha, so looks like this will just be going the way of Order side.
A lot of successful poke and some really good posturing, really aggressive posturing from Midgard. Looking for some poke, maybe a pick. Set up another objective, but it doesn't look like we're going to get anything. Beacon, walk away, we're happy. That Tsukiyomi, though, might be a little bit caught out over here on the solo lane side. As
yeah, with the rotation coming out,
into the ultimate.
He's in an awful spot.
I don't see how the rotation coming out here from Order side.
Yeah,
and just
Ganesha explosion. Just there's nothing left to him.
The problem is though that opened up Gold Fury for the killer Kappas, and they are gonna happily take that. You just gotta kind of get the consolation prize over here with the Pyromancer. And honestly, is it much of a consolation prize when you're getting those pyro bombs?
Pyro Bomb versus Oni Waves, I'd say they're about equal. If it was just a regular Gold Fury, oh, Pyro wins all day.
You say Oni Waves is now. It's like, are you really pushing right now? Can we
I
make use
mean,
of these Oni Waves?
you got to. You got to get out there.
Yeah, I definitely see that there's a lot of potential for the Killer Kappas to use these Oni Waves to shove down this mid tower and open up the map, but looks like we're just going to happily clear up these waves and be on our merry way.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say which one was better there. I do think that really giving the option of killing the Honest in mid lane again, guys, stop it. Mid God, please stop ulting him. He understands.
Natsiox is like, please, not again. Stop these mage ults on my face, please. I want to play the game too.
Nope, you don't get to play the game. Get knocked up. Sorry, bud.
Despite the amount of pressure that he's been seeing, likewise with the Wukong, nobody's out of the game right now. Nobody's really pushed too far out. It's still very even. I mean, looking at the gold, it's dead even.
Yeah, no, incredibly even game despite, the kill deficit. We're looking at a 5-kill deficit, but no real advantage to show for it.
No real advantage to show for it. And I think Ice Age is extremely happy with this situation right now. Looking at their team comp, like we were saying all the time through picks and bans so far, this scaling team comp is going to see some success. And with that score line and with that gold difference right now going into the 20-minute mark, they're happy.
Yeah, definitely. Now, right now the biggest gap on the map is going to be in that support. And realistically, Ganesh is about as useful as he's going to get. He gets to upgrade his starter now. Meanwhile, Fenrir still has a couple levels to go before he gets that spike, so we'll have to see that get upgraded soon and get really taken advantage of with the extra gold spooling.
I feel like Ganesh is always just kind of a pick. It doesn't matter if he's a couple levels ahead, a couple levels behind. He's always just going to, I'm going to grab you, knock you up, I'm going to silence you, okay? And then I'm going to trap you in my little cage here, and, if you decide to step on it, maybe I'll CC you on top of it and force away your entire health bar by myself. Still
even if I don't does CC what he does. Yeah. Even if I don't CC you on it, I've shredded your prots, you're moving slow, you don't know what's going on, you're scared. Do I go over it? Do I not go over it? That hesitation just is a killer.
Got a light grouping over here in the purple buff on the order side. We see Fenrir, Lancelot, Janice all making rotation in. Maybe they want a little bit something. I don't think they're really going to get it. They're trying to force something right now to validate this team comp, I feel, because moving into this late game, it's gonna be difficult getting these picks.
Yeah, definitely. It's really going to be tough for them to make a ton of progress in that late game with just pure dive. They just don't have the health bars to truly frontline, especially with the Tsukiyomi just building damage, which I respect. That's how I do my Suki solo. I'm just building damage and I'm gonna fight the other guy.
You gotta commit at that point, if we're going with the pick, we gotta just get that poke, get the damage. As Tsukiyomi, here's the thing. You're going in, you're gone, okay? The minute you push that 4 button, there is no more retreats. It's always what I tell people, I'll push the 4 button, I'll have people on my team VGS spamming retreat, and I go, no, this is the not retreat button. You see, I don't get that option anymore. I'm going in there, there's no helping it.
See, I'm a big fan of just using it for CC immunity. We do see Fenrir not quite able to land the ult on the Almond Brigette there. Still putting out quite a bit of damage onto her, but she's not going to have any problems getting away. Especially with the team backing her up. Giannis
so close.
Out, but not quite enough.
A lot of teams looking for poke as these objectives start spawning again here in the mid lane. Beacon, Pyromancer, Gold Fury being looked at yet again. But first we're going to start with this Beacon.
Yeah, Beacon already going the way of
comfortably
Porter. And it's just, again, they just have the members there that they need to put that pressure on. See some people coming out of base, but it's not going to be fast enough, so I think that's 3 for 3.
Ice Age has done a phenomenal job of being here, being on time, and having their team members ready for these beacon spawns. And like you said, 3 for 3 going the way of Ice Age. Now we're moving into Titans Unleashed. Chaos is like, okay, guys, maybe we gotta go and get an objective here ourselves. Open up for the Gold Fury, but Might see a little bit of a push over on the other side from Ice Age as they're moving towards the Pyromancer.
You see Malman looking for a steal onto this Gold Fury. Not going to be able to get it. And on the other side, we do see Lance looking for a little bit of a steal. Midgod does finally fall.
Looks like both junglers going away, seeing maybe they can steal, but Lamont Brujette and Midgod coming up a little bit short. So we see a very big team fight coming out here in mid lane. Double kill coming out. Triple kill. Across that, Artemis putting in work. She's showing, oh my goodness. Yuki, what are you doing to them? He's showing them very much exactly what this god is capable of. You know what? You want to keep coming? You want to push into us? You want to dive into me? Fine. Here, let me just push the 4 button and wipe your team.
Yeah, I mean, a Tusky on top of a Ganesha ult is just so much for a team fight. Nobody has protections, nobody's moving, everybody's just getting autoed down. Great team fight coming out of Ice Age.
Ice Age looking over at Killer Kappas right now and saying thank you for the Fire Giants. Maybe a little bit too soon as we see the Lancelot coming in for a steal. A little bit unsuccessful and ends up trading his life for a whole lot of nothing. Good attempt though, but the Ice Age still secures the Fire Giant and the pick.
That was tough. He just gets absolutely CC chained, gets hit by the knockup, the silence, and then as soon as he ults away, the Fire Giant just drops 2 pools right in front of him. Boom, boom, dead. It was tragic.
Dude,
those pools hurt my feelings.
I tell ya, those pools will sit there and just shred you. I'm so happy, but also stressed out as a jungle player who plays a lot of squishier characters. Once they added those pools back, I'm like, okay, these things are gonna murder me 9 times out of 10. You know, looking for these kind of steals or just playing around the Fire Giant. I gotta watch where I stand.
Discordia from downtown does make contact. Not Socks is just absolutely a punching bag for these Discordia ults. He's just struggling with them, just taking them from downtown. Giannis ult, however, knocking 2 down in mid lane. Quite a bit of damage comes out. Midgod looking for something, not quite going to get it as he does trade out for not a big deal. As he rides off into the sunset, it's not even a trade.
Good tower going the way of Ice Age and a little bit of a team fight going in here inside our jungle side. And Ice Age is coming up very happily. Unstoppable is our Artemis. Man, a god who really you don't see shine a whole lot right now. Well, in the hands of Yuki, shining very well.
Yeah, good poke coming out from Kalao, but not quite going to be able to get those kills. Now, that fight looked really bad for Ice Age, and then Game of Shadows just had alternate timeline and lived because of it.
Alternate timeline, I tell you, here's my get out of jail free card, and
Bender with a massive triple stun, but it just doesn't matter. Land's looking for a little bit more. Unfortunately, Discordia ult is going to send him back to the gray screen.
Ice Age happily cleaning up these towers and happily cleaning up these members of Killer Kappas as well. They're just kind of funneling in one at a time, and what we were saying since the start is Killer Kappas really need to coordinate their dives together, getting in there as a team, moving from one pick to the other, and that's where their team comp is going to be succeeding. Right now, they're kind of just funneling in one at a time here, one at a time there, and just falling apart.
Yeah, definitely. We just need to see them coordinate that dive, or maybe look for a more traditional draft in the next game. They're just really struggling because they don't have anybody that's really individually tanky enough to initiate. So they just need to kind of just come together and say, all right, if we all go in, they can't kill us all, right? And then they take an Artemis ult and regret everything, but that's besides the point.
20 minutes of an even game. Moving into the 28-minute mark, and we're starting to see this gold lead really swing in the favor of Ice Age. They're showing us they are here to play as we approach 8K, moving into 9K gold lead over here for Ice Age. Talk about a swing within these couple of minutes.
Yeah, as soon as you really start getting that Fire Giant, you knock down all those towers, a bunch of standing gold comes off the map, and all of a sudden it's hard to shut you down.
Ice Age, when the Pyromancer go off and they know somebody's not here, pushing into this Phoenix, and are they gonna secure it? And they end up securing it right before the teleport comes through. What? A team fight to suffice. Wukong getting away. 1 HP in a dream, I tell ya. But Lancelot's not gonna let that slip away as he's sneaking around here in the jungle, ready with his ultimate, looking for that Wukong. I can see him foaming at the mouth. Is he gonna suffer? He's not gonna get it, but he's gonna go for the Constellation Prize and get this Mammon Bridge yet.
Not
Too much
quite.
peel from the Ice Age.
So many low health bars, but just not quite enough to make it back. And unfortunately, that's a Phoenix down for nothing.
That Phoenix going down as the Fire Giant's wearing off is going to be very nice here for Ice Age moving into the next Fire Giant. We're going to come out with a quick pause, guys, as we move in to the 29-minute mark here in Game 1. Ice Age versus Killer Kappas. Stay tuned. We are back at the 29-minute mark. Ice Age versus Killer Kappas. Fire Giants spawning very momentarily as we have Fire Waves pushing down this dual lane side with a very nice early Phoenix drop, in my opinion. Generally, with the basic Fire Giant, you're looking to clean up your towers, clean up some of these camps around the map, extend your gold lead. But Ice Age was able to just drop a Phoenix instantly with it. That's going to help them a lot going into this next fight.
Yeah, they clear a couple towers off the map. I want to say they got 3 towers and the Phoenix, so definitely a ton of gold that they just have to spend and just get ready for this next Fire Giant. And it's going to be hard to defend, especially with the best Phoenix down. That far Phoenix forcing that Tsukiyomi to go ahead and clear waves rather than be there for the defense of this FG.
Oh yeah, very good by Ice Age, recognizing that somebody wasn't here as we just see Soul fall the way of this Mammon Bridge. So much burst damage coming out of this character, and she just cannot get into Disapparate fast enough. Midgard, keep showing us what she's capable of.
She's fair and balanced for sure. I like the part where she was just inside you with no recourse.
Oh yeah, you know, you're just taking damage and she's just sitting there laughing at you from the inside. Like, what are you gonna do? What's gonna happen here, huh?
What if you got reverse Noxed? Like, it is what it is. You gotta deal with that.
Honestly, just a better Chernobog dash, in my opinion. Ice Age happy with the pick and the Fire Waves pushing in, noticing that they are 5 strong here and only 3 strong from the Killer Kappas. They're gonna pick up the Fire Giant as it's EFG.
Yeah, great combo comes out. Naxiox gets a great ult through there. Game of Shadows, however, picking it up right back. Great Discordia ult onto the Tsukiyomi. As soon as he pops out from his ult, loses the mitigations, falls down to the damage, and that is a great triple kill from Game of Shadows.
Good rotation in from the Tsukiyomi, but 2 for 3 in favor of Ice Age. They end up happily walking away and get back on this Fire Giant with a very nice triple kill.
Yeah, this Fire Giant still putting some damage out.
This is EFG. EFG is your 4th and 5th man. Well, 5th and 6th man, honestly, over here. I'm not too sure if they have the potential with these HP bars going in.
Yeah, this Lancelot lurking too, forcing the Disco to pay attention as this Ganesha gets quite low. He dashes out. This FG is so low, we could definitely see a steal here. Knock up from the FG, putting in so much work. Blue team is able to secure, but at what cost? Yuki in a ton of trouble. However, one auto just absolutely deletes the remainder of Not a Big Deal's HP bar.
Crit, ladies and gentlemen. That is all we have to say about that one. You know, I'm almost wondering if Not a Big Deal would have just been better off looking for the damage instead of looking for the steal. If he took the fight to them, what are they going to do about it? They're tanking Fire Giant, they're fighting Fire Giant and him at the same time. He's going to be really happy with the outcome in that aspect once they're running away through the fire pools, running through the fire ring, while also fighting against his ultimate. What are they going to do?
Yeah, definitely. I do think that was kind of the call. Push them out a little bit, force them to take some damage, and give his soul just a little bit more time to try to get in there.
Dual side Phoenix does respawn, and we have Fire Giants now on 2 members. And one of the important ones is this Niyuki on this Artemis, who is putting in work today. 9-0-7. My guy is running a clinic on the Kappas.
He's sitting right at the top of the damage charts too, number 2, right under Disco with her own passive. And I mean, this Tsukiyomi's putting in a ton of damage, but it's just not quite enough.
Hey, Discordia is saying, it's my passive and I want it now. She's been saying that for quite a while. She's making sure she's getting poke off throughout the entirety of the game to ensure she keeps it.
Yeah, definitely just tons of damage coming out, and she's just such a good god to have it too. Her poke is just so easy. I'm just gonna throw that out there. If it hits you, you're gonna lose half your health bar.
What's so important and especially so crucial for the Killer Kappas team comp is they want to get in, on one person together. Discordia ult says, okay, well, I'm going to take your team fight and disperse you. Why? Because as soon as everybody sees that Discordia ult, what do? Spread out, get away, move to the nearest, furthest point that they can. There goes your entire dive on one person idea that you had. You know, let's spread out this team comp, move back into a little comfort for our team, and maybe even get a pick off of it also, as we see moving into the duo side Phoenix for the second time. Ice Age getting ready for another siege.
Yeah, looking to siege up. They do have these Oni waves starting to push, and we see Midgod taking advantage of that, pushing up with that mid lane, trying to get that mid tower handled. However, we do see Tsukiyomi and Giannis there, making sure it's not going to go down for free as that right Oni wave continues to push.
It might be just trying to see what they can get here while that right Oni wave pushes. Left Oni wave moving into the Phoenix now. And some ultimates coming out. Fenrir does unsuccessful with Janisol coming in over the top, and Tsukiyomi says we are going in. He pushed that forward button. Beautiful Ganesha ult though for peeling. And Yuki ends up falling in the back line. Lancelot wanting more. Lancelot getting more gets the alternate timeline out of Discordia. A lot of low health bars over here on the Chaos side, and it does not matter. Game of Shadows just destroying, not a big deal with that Discordia combo. It was a very good attempt. Still a lot of low health bars. I'm not too sure if they can continue this siege.
I mean, at this point, I think they're just trying to stall a little bit more time for that right wave. It is doing some considerable damage to that right Phoenix, but I don't think it's going to quite take it for itself.
Doesn't seem like it's going to be enough. Looks like they want to just go and get down this mid tower, be happy, get a little bit more gold off of this Fire Giant. Again, they were going into that fight with only 2 members having EFG. It's gonna be a little bit difficult still because these Phoenixes, they do put in work. They do some good damage and they are a little bit tanky. And with your ADC falling early in that fight, it's no wonder that siege was a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. Just surprisingly good anti-siege. Fenrir comes in, causes some disruption, and while nobody's paying attention for it, Giannis ult comes through, does a ton of damage. Tsukiyomi cleans up some kills. Lancelot chases down the stragglers. It's definitely working out well for him, but it is a slippery slope. As soon as you miss a Giannis ult, so there's no big damage on anybody, or Fenrir doesn't get a good pickup with his ult. It's a really scary predicament to be in.
Moving into the 36-minute mark, so long as nobody gets picked here, we're going to see a very nice 5-on-5 here at the Fire Giant pit. All members of both teams, level 20. This is where the game starts getting interesting. One bad team fight could go the either way. It's anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, definitely anybody's game. I mean, it's certainly easier for Ice Age, but the Kappas certainly aren't out. I mean, 10k late game, who cares? Everybody's already starting to finish up their builds.
Absolutely. Killer Kappas really want to get a pick here, and Ice Age is doing very well if they can continue just grouping and playing together. That is where their success is going to come in.
Ooh, Giannis ult comes through, but not on the mark. And that should kind of spell the retreat of the Killer Kappas here. Just kind of back up. Make sure we get those resources back before we look for something. Ganesha.
Really good poke here on this Fenrir. 1 HP. He ends up getting away with his life, but this might open up. Never mind. Midgod coming in from behind, showing us that this isn't a mage, this is an assassin. Going in, continuing this fight as we see Fenrir. 0-2 ends up getting cleanup over here on Midgod. Oh my goodness, there was so much going on, but I say walking away.
They just need to run it up right lane. That's the game. Don't go to FG. What are we doing? You have minions all the way up there. You just win the game.
Couple health bars though, but not too concerned. They're gonna have to just play it safe, get this Fire Giant, go in, push in with that. Then, honestly, who cares? We'll be a little bit safe today. Why not? Is going to be their correct play. Death timer still at 20 seconds over here, over on the nearest death timer on the Chaos side. Maybe we can still see a Phoenix go down.
Yeah, definitely could see a Phoenix go down. Another 10 seconds before that Fenrir spawns. Going to give them some time for this, but will it be enough?
Mid tower goes down. Mid wave's going down. Right Phoenix getting pressured. Mid Phoenix getting pressured. We could see some really nice opening up and cracking of the base here for Ice Age. Two birds down, but all members are now back alive. Get ready for a team fight over here on this duo side Phoenix as Killer Kappas is coming in hot. Genesol just annihilating half of Midgod's bar. And it looks like Ice Age is happy with what they got. 3 Phoenixes down. Let's go clear up the jungle, get the Gold Fury, get the beacon, return to base, spend our gold, come on back for a final push with this EFG on 5 members.
Yeah, definitely looking to get this done here. Taking some gold off the map as they await their final push towards that Titan.
Gold Fury going down, team starting back. We still have 2 bombs in the pocket, but it doesn't matter because there's not a single Phoenix up. Ice Age back in, spending a little bit of gold, seeing what they can get some final items, get some 500 pots, maybe even some 3k pots, and get ready for another siege attempt as they are marching up mid lane.
Definitely preparing themselves for this siege, making sure they are well spent and ready, going to get their buffs on their way.
Sun Wukong teleporting in. It's not going to have that for any sort of like poke with his health bar back, teleport back in now. I wonder if Killer Kappas can capitalize on that. Maybe poke him out and ensure that he's not going to be in this next fight.
Yeah, definitely could see that be abused just a little bit. Going to struggle just a little bit, but I think he'll be fine. These fire waves are doing so much of the heavy lifting regardless, so just got to be a little bit careful with it.
Airwaves in 3 lanes. This Maman Burgett, though, is a little bit pushed up for herself. Lancelot coming in. Walking away happily, not a lot going on. Oh, and the blink coming out. Ulti disengaged from both members, and it looks like Disco Ult ends up making contact. Game of Shadows knocking down, not a big deal on this Lancelot. Very good geometry right there.
Yeah, definitely. Tsukiyami coming in from behind, drops Game of Shadows into that alternate timeline yet again. Unfortunately, he is going to survive. Nuki picks up Crouton Crusader, and this is not looking good.
Man, that alternate timeline is putting in work. What is that, 3 times this one game? No.
I think that's the second
Twice,
time
right?
I've seen it, but it could be
Twice.
3. Bombs drop on the Titan, and that calls game number 1 Ice Age victory over the Killer Kappas.
Wow. Very aggressive team comp over here on the Killer Kappas, but unfortunately unable to execute it. I'm almost wondering if a little bit more ward vision on their side, a little bit anti-ward vision per se, would have helped them, and just coordinating their dives together. Because Ice Age, let's say, phenomenally, getting wards deep, getting wards across the map, creating this safety net, and then playing to it, and then playing together. They did a very good job at doing so.
Yeah, definitely. They just had a good team comp that they knew what they wanted to do with it at all times. They said, all right, well, we're just going to throw ults in mid, get a little bit of a lead there, and it's just so hard to play the Killer Kappas team from behind, and they just weren't able to really generate a good enough lead in that early game.
Really good slash lines here. We got a 12-1 and 15 Discordia, 0-1 and 29 on this Ganesha. They're showing us exactly. They played the early game safe, played it smart, got their farm online, got to late game, let their team comp scale up, and then, well, it definitely showed that. We're going to head on into a break here after game number 1. Ice Age leading the set 1-0 against the Killer Kappas. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Frank's Retirement Home. Game 2, Ice Age versus Killer Kappas. We saw a very explosive team comp from the Killer Kappas game 1, but a very calm and calculated play style and team comp from Ice Age, securing the victory in game number 1. We're moving on into game number 2 as we see a couple quick bans coming out. They said, no more. We don't want the Maman Burgett on this. We don't want the Ganesh on this in these games. Get them out. We're done. And Killer Kappa's taking away the Raijin and Oleron yet again.
Yeah, definitely don't want to be seeing that Mom and Brigette again. We saw her come out to just an explosive start, 7-1 before she finally got shut down. Just incredible work coming out. Want to say Ganesha ended up like 0-1, 30, somewhere around that ballpark. So
29.
another massive,
Yeah.
another massive player in that last game.
Insane.
Other than that, I honestly expected to see an Artemis ban. Miyuki did so much. Just absolutely deleting people with auto, staying towards the top of those damage charts, and just being an overall menace with that Tusky.
That's where I feel like what we were saying is there was just so much utility on the Ice Age side to just peel for themselves and peel for one another. And Killer Kappas wasn't able to really just take away that utility before going for their engage. They kind of were in this position where they had to all in commit and go on in, and all those abilities were up. Their beads, their Aegises, their ultimates, and well, we saw the outcome of that.
Yeah,
So
definitely. As we look into this last ban again, getting rid of those semi-global ultimates with the Athena and the Rat, rounding out the draft, going to see the Chernobog locked in. That is a ban we saw last game that just didn't make the cut for this game.
global ultimates, you're going to be removing the Maman Burjet and the Ganesha, but what is that going to be leaving up? Obviously, they want to take away that Chernobog for themselves, but what does that leave over on the options for Ice Age for these first two picks? Honestly, so many picks available right now. So many things that people are running, like these mage solos we're seeing with the Opwashes and the Morgan Le Fays, and there's endless possibilities right now, especially with how some of the picks and bans went in game number one.
Yeah, for sure. Could definitely see a lot of things. I mean, I almost expect an Artemis. It just went so well last game. 10-1, so much damage, so much utility coming out. I'd be surprised if we don't see it.
Sure, that's something that we're going to first pick here. I'm sure we might see a little bit later in the draft if Nyuki is feeling himself a little bit after that game number one, without a doubt. Possibly there's that Morgan Le Fay that we were talking about. Very high in burst. Another one who's just good at self peeling herself. If an assassin or warrior just goes on top of her, what does she do? She slams her 2 button, knocks you away. Button. And an Ares, though. All right. Saying I'm going to pull you right back on in and prevent any dashes. This is a little bit interesting, in my opinion. We haven't seen a whole lot of the Ares lately.
Yeah, I mean, Ares certainly a strong character. He's just difficult to play. You know, you have to be hitting those chains. You have to be landing good ult and not just getting blown up. So definitely one of those gods that's a little bit harder to consistently play, but his payoff is great. Especially with, team fight. You have the Morgan Le Fay, she's doing a ton of damage, she's got a ton of CC. Ares groups everybody up for even more CC, and there's the Artemis.
We do see that Artemis coming out. Niyuki says, all right, you know what? Run it back. He liked how it looked. And especially since they already have good beads burners with this Ares, I was a little surprised to see the Horus, though. Especially following up an Ares, you expect Ares as this huge counter to a god like Horus. And then to see it hover, I was all right, maybe they're pulling their leg a little bit, but then they locked it in along with this Merlin. This Ares has got a lot of potential right now and a lot of choices in who he can pressure, get some beads off of, and then follow up with some Artemis damage and Artemis Tusky on top of it.
You see, as a Horus enjoyer, if you just dodge the chains,
Oh,
it's a
okay,
great
yeah.
matchup for you.
Sure, why didn't I? If they
Just
just
dodge the
don't
chain
land the
every time.
abilities, yeah.
If they just never hit you with a chain, you win that matchup.
If they just don't land abilities, guys, they don't deal damage. Why didn't I think of that?
Exactly. He can't cripple you if he doesn't land the chain. It's just how it works. And then when he hits you with it, you say, "Wow, shouldn't have locked Horus." Even if
Guess
you
I'll
locked it
just
before the
die.
area, just shouldn't have locked it. Why do we even play this guy?
What am I doing here? Terrible god, terrible design. Why would they do this? A lot of time taken to think about these next couple bans from both of these teams. Who are you taking away? And it looks like the Thanatos is the choice. They decided that, all right, Ice Age, you have a lot of really nice scaling picks here. You're probably going to want something with a little bit of early pressure, not to mention another one, semi-global ultimate. And then we follow it up with an Opwash ban. These mage solos who can just build a little bit hybridy and still deal a lot of damage, still have a lot of control. Very potent right now.
Yeah, Upwash is incredible, honestly. I got 3 left thumbs. I don't know how to press buttons. I went crazy on him in solo. I don't even play solo. The god just works. He's
Honestly,
got so much area denial. great anti-heal, just everything you want except for mobility.
We haven't really seen the Outwash in what, a couple years, honestly, since probably back in Turtle Comps. God just hasn't really found his home, and a couple buffs later, in just the right meta, here he is getting slammed in. We see a Wukong finish out the bans over on the Killer Kappa's side. They don't want to have that safety net over on Ice Ages. They were getting some good pressure over there, getting some good ganks off over there, but it didn't really amount to anything. Pass ban on the Ice Age side, and then they lock in the Kukul Khan. Now, here's something. You got your beads burners over here with the Ares and the Artemis, okay? You have your lockdown then. Boom. What do you need? Explosive damage. Morgan Le Fay's enough of that, but add on a Cuckoo ult over the top? Now they're going to be destroying some people, having some objectives secure, and really shredding down the members of Killer Kappas.
Yeah, definitely. If they're able to pull beads for this Ares ult to go crazy, we could definitely see an incredible Cuckoo game. Just the amount of damage you can throw on top of an Ares ult. Oh, you got pulled? Well, you're gonna take 900 from a tornado. You're gonna take 2100 from an ult, and who's standing? Maybe a support if they're lucky.
Speaking of getting pulled, Mulan and Susano getting locked in over on the Killer Kappa side. Both of these guys just going to grab you in some way, displace you, and then, well, say goodbye to your health bar after that. They have enough damage alone to just bring down any low health or any squishy target for that matter, and just make sure that you regret existing on the map. And then a Hunbot's pick to lock in the draft for the Ice Age. A lot of team fight, a lot of CC over here on the Ice Age side. What is the Killer Kappas going to do in order to compensate for that fact? Man, they gotta take apart these characters one by one.
Yeah, again, we look at a more team fight oriented draft versus a more single target. I mean, Susano, yeah, he could hit a couple of people, but realistically, you're dumping every ability into one person, dropping that ult, maybe hitting a maybe a three piece if you're having a good ult. But realistically, they're mostly single target, other than that Merlin.
It's going to be a very interesting side. Ice Age kind of falling in for the same kind of draft style that they did with Game 1. If it works, don't fix it, especially picking up that Artemis pick over on Yuki. Definitely putting in work. Killer Kappa's deciding, okay, let's step a little bit away from the aggression. We'll take a step back. We'll collect ourselves. We'll get a little bit more scaling, and we're going to decide this in the mid to late game once objectives start popping, objectives start flying with these beacons, Gold Furies, Pyromancers. That'll be the game winning factor right there at that time period.
Yeah, definitely. They're one of those team comps that might struggle a little bit earlier, especially into this heavy, you know, pick style draft coming out from Killer Kappas. But if they can just withstand that early game and that mid game, their late game is just incredible. Just based on the fact that they have three massive team fight ults.
So I'm Killer Kappas. Where am I pressuring in this game? Last game we saw a lot of pressure going out over in the solo lane side, but not a lot to mount for it. Was that on the back of the Wukong on Ice Age's side? Or was that simply the fact that, okay, maybe we need to look a little bit elsewhere with our team count, with our pressure, especially resulting in the fact that we have a Chernobog over here. Clearly we can pressure any point in the map that we want. What is Killer Kappas thinking? What is their thought process here on where they should be pressuring this map?
Honestly, it has to be the mid lane. I mean, Kukulkan just doesn't have that great of an escape. Sure, he has the slow immunity and a little bit of a move speed boost, but there's just not too much he can do if, let's say, a Susano goes on him, or if a Horus goes ahead and hits the fracture updraft combo. He's just going to be in for a rough time.
Hopefully he can get that clear online and safely sit under his tower, get his clear, get his farm where he needs to, and have that kind of ward buffer. Get ready, everybody. We're going to be moving on into game number 2. Ice Age versus Killer Kappas right now. Aries opting no consumable slots over here. He says, I'm going to be happy with whatever I get. Nope, there we go. Gets those wards online. Says, okay, let's get some early ward vision down. See a lot of supports opting for these early wards. We saw before they were getting the ward shards. Now they're just, okay, you know what? We're just going to get the wards. We need a different type of shard over here. We want this horn shard. That cooldown reduction is just so nice to have. When in doubt, go the cooldown is what I say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, certainly kind of a newer thing going with those wards coming out on that first exit, but it's definitely an interesting choice. I personally not a huge fan of it. You see, I know that I'm going to get ganked as soon as the junglers come
It's
out for mid
inevitable.
lane, and I'm going to die to it like I do every time. Because I'm just going to push the other team. There's no logic. I'm just going to be fighting, and then I'm going to get die to a gank as a support. It's just the law.
It's going to be very interesting to see this solo lane matchup. Morgan Le Fay, who can really clear, but Mulan, who can really fight. It's going to be a lot on to how well Morgan Le Fay over here can use her two to just disengage the Mulan if she lands those grabs, or when she lands those grabs, per se. Moving on into lanes, teams. Pretty standard stuff so far. And she pops cooldown shard already, showing exactly what this Mulan can do. Getting up in the Morgan Le Fay's face, eliminating half their health bar right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's just one of those things. These mages, before they get their first item or two, before they have that Pythag's breastplate, they're pretty vulnerable to just getting comboed out to death. A good grab comes out, you take two abilities, all of a sudden you're sitting on the gray screen thinking, probably shouldn't have stepped up as a mage.
There it is, that beautiful grab. Just whittling down the HP bar, especially with a bluestone on this Mulan, and doesn't even need a tower shot, knows his ranges very well. Very good pressure coming out early from Crouton Crusader over here.
Yeah, just great pressure coming out. Dual lane, nothing too crazy coming out. Hunbot's looking for a little bit of something here. Is he going to be able to get too much here? A little bit of damage comes out, but going to be able to just walk that one off. Susano looking for possibly a counter invade though.
Yeah, Killer Kappas was playing very nicely back on their tower line over here. Just gonna be a little bit of poke, move in for this shield buff, and it looks like they should secure it with ease, as the Susano thinks something's a little bit funny. Miyuki agrees, so it's good that, they share the same sense of humor.
As long as everybody's having fun, who cares?
There's that
We
pick
see
I was waiting for.
close one too. Probably taking some tower shots for that, but you
gotta
managed to
admit.
pick up that first blood. You're Mulan. You're
Yeah.
the early god. You get in there. At the end of
Mulan
the
is a
day, you
god
just
who-
say, "Oh, I was playing Mulan. Mulan's bad."
Yeah. Mulan is such a fun god, though, in the fact that her kit does way more damage than you would expect. Okay? Whenever you're going against a Mulan and she just gets you with the grab, she hits you with her two, her abilities are leveling up as she goes. So all of a sudden, she could go from dealing, 200 damage. Now she's doing 400 or 500 damage with just one cast of an ability, and then even more so because, well, it gets to hit more times. You're not expecting
And
the
she's
burst damage coming.
healing. Now you don't know what's going on. Oh, this is a
First
free
ability has
kill. All of a
cooldown
sudden,
reduction. Like, come on. Going for the invade, and she's got level 5. She has her ultimate ready. And it looks like Midgod isn't ready for this invade yet, but Labby Man on this Morgan Le Fay is able to secure his own buff happily.
does pick it up. Good damage onto Crouton Crusader as well. Hasn't used that teleport to go ahead and get themselves back to the lane yet, so as long as they don't die, they're in a perfect position. Good pull comes out.
Not a lot of mana, though. I'm almost certain he wants to back on up, get some of his, get his buff, return to base, get that Soul Leader online, and then that's when this is gonna start cooking over here.
Hunbots, though, looking for a little bit of a flank here, does have the ultimate available. Could see a kill.
Recognizes the Crusty Crusader standing up here low on mana. There's the double ultimate coming out, and that's what we're going to be worried about. Just the lockdown from these CC ultimates into the burst damage coming out on Ice Age's side.
Yeah, that was just a great communication coming out. Hey, I'm Hunbots. I have the 4 button available. Mulan doesn't have enough mana to use her ult. That's a free kill.
That's just going to even things out over there in the soul lane as we take a look at duo side, just doing dual lane things, a nice little 2v2 for the shield buff. As we said, you get the shield buff. You gotta fight for the shield buff all times.
If you're not fighting for shield buff, what are you fighting for?
Exactly. Some nice early ward vision coming out from the Ice Age's side. Gonna help them maybe get these ganks off, as we can see already. Nice. Everybody clearing, everybody happy, gonna be scaling into the mid game.
Yeah, not having too many issues there. I mean, Kukulkan gets an item or two online, just drops a tornado, runs away, and just full clears. So pretty soon he'll be out of the danger zone.
Ice
Looking
Age
like a
playing
gank
up at the
coming out
tower
here.
line here. Recognizing that as the killer
taking
captain's coming in with the
some
horse,
chain.
and that Tusky, a lot of CC ability, and Horus pops the shell. 1 HP in a dream. Look at him walk away with his life. Ares now also in the same boat, and Chernobog dashing in for more against Niyuki. Chains are landing. Ares low on HP, low on mana. Niyuki fighting the Susano, but it looks like both teams are going. But Midgod says he wants more. Midgod's not getting any more. Oh, the Artemis trap though. Coming up short, both teams. A lot of utility expended. Not much gained, other than a nice little pointing at each other from across the river going, next time, next time.
Yeah, this is a lot of low health bars, just not quite able to convert. Midgod, however, looking for a little bit of a return. This horse just hasn't gotten back. Good chain comes out. Monkey Bounce will secure it, as well as doing some damage to those bastions. And that's just great thoughtfulness, you know? He's saying, alright, this horse, he's gonna stay. I'm not gonna let him.
Bad God, right? You know, just what we were saying with those Ares landing chains. Now all of a sudden.
You're a great god until you get crippled. Then you are nothing.
Yeah. Useless to me. How dare you? Very good by Midgod to recognize, though, and to just kind of stay in the area. They don't have any ward vision. I can chill over here. I can get this pick. No problem. Teams returning to farming. As expected, nothing going to be spawning yet for, well, 6 more minutes until that first beacon even. See where the pressure starts to reside. Still just a very even game.
Yeah, seeing a level here, a level there, but nothing too significant coming out. I mean, 600 gold lead, but it's just not too relevant. A lot of that just kind of hinges on the fact that Mulan got that first blood.
Really all it is, but Morgan Le Fay able to just come right back, you know, it's almost like that first blood gold is really all that Ice Age is, I'm sorry, that Killer Kappas is really holding on to. Susano getting kind of deep in the jungle size, might find himself out of position as he meets 3 members of the Ice Age. Not a big deal, just saying, you know what, it's not a big deal.
Link is forced Crusader and Crusader, taking a little bit of damage for him on his behalf. They do go ahead and manage to steal the blue buff. Double ults come out to peel the Susano away. And
Connell ripping through, but just off the mark as the low HP bars of Killer Kappas are going to walk away happily, securing the blue buff, and well, that's about all we need.
that one hurt. That Cuckoo ult was so close. But here's an Ares, there's a chain landed, there's an ult, pull back. The damage isn't quite enough! No!
Oh, you hate to see it.
Just barely manages to survive.
Probably single digit. Definitely double digit. 24 HP was this Merlin. Beads expended, and I'm sure he's just happy to walk away with his life.
Yeah, I mean, uses the beads and just barely gets out. That's such a rough one because you know you're sitting there feeling hurt if you beads the Ares ult and then you die anyway.
Why we usually ended up seeing for a strong part of mid-season last season where the support players were picking up the Chronos pendants, getting that cooldown reduction, get a little bit of damage, a little bit of power, MP5, you know, just that ability to pressure the map early. Although Smite's kind of fallen into this more later game style drafts where I'm not sure if that's entirely necessary.
Yeah, again, not seeing anything too crazy. Return Crusader, though, putting a ton of pressure onto this blue buff yet again. Manages to secure it, but at what cost? Ults through 3. And it looks like he might just get to safety. Cuckoo ult comes out and a great hit.
Huge 4-man rotation. Getting followed up here by the Killer Kappas with a Horus ult, but nothing to really gain for it. I'm almost wondering, do you decide to go over to the Gold Fury, or is it a little too early still? It's 9 minutes. Or is that just cut your corner, cut your cost right there, and, you know, Mulan's dead. She put herself a little bit out of position right there for the vision we had.
I mean, as a solo laner, you're like, oh my god, everybody's here. Why aren't we on gold? Guys, gold. But it's just hard to make those calls. You know, you don't have a pick. You just have a couple people on the other side of the map. So it's really hard to pull the trigger and say you guys need to be on gold. Don't try to save me. I'm dead. Don't worry about it.
Well, Chernobog's still in the area, very healthy, a lot of mana. Gold Fury does a lot of damage early. You're gonna struggle to really tank it and pass it around with this god just sitting around and being able to back then ult back in. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, definitely just a tough one to call. But this Cherno going for a little bit of an interesting build here, going for that crit second item, not looking for the fail knot, but rather probably just a demon blade.
Watching the crit is going to be really interesting. We might see a fail knot a little bit late, especially since it's a very successful item on this Chernobog, just flying in with the fail knot passive going off, having that crit just tearing through his opponents. Both teams kind of returning to farming. We do see fail knot coming out from this Artemis, it looks like. That should be Tusky, burst, goodbye. We saw that crit in the last one. Yuki was putting up those numbers.
Yeah, definitely. Fail Knot just, again, like you were talking about, an incredible item for these ADCs. Cooldown, penetration, power. Only thing it doesn't have that you want is lifesteal or attack speed, but with all that it offers, it's hard to say no. It's just such a strong item.
Small little poke grouping over here. You know, we were talking about this Horus coming out over on the Killer Kappas side following the Ares pick. What about this Susano getting picked up after the Ares pick? Now that's something that's also a little bit of a struggle, as we're seeing members of both sides getting dropped left and right here around this Gold Fury pit. Teams just deciding to group up and do a little bit of fighting before the first beacon.
Yeah, that Susano definitely a tough matchup into the Ares as well. I mean, your whole premise as Susano is to say, hey, look, I have all the mobility in the world, and as long as you don't, like, you know, stun me or hit me with a cripple, I'm just gonna dance around you, do a ton of damage. Beads pop for the
Very
Merlin.
unfortunate beads. Followed by a chain, but just coming up shy. This Merlin, both times so far, is walking away from this area. He's like, please leave me alone, sir. I don't want any more. And that's going to be a very clean grouping for the first beacon by Ice Age. Yet again, grouped for these beacons. I'm seeing a little bit of a correlation, maybe. They're here, they're ready, they have their team members there, they get a little bit of poke off, maybe even send somebody back to base with the gray screen, but they're always securing these beacons.
Yeah, that is one thing that they've been really, really good about. They're worried about those beacons, and that's just a really good way to start to push a lead. The small buff that it gives you isn't massive, gives you a little bit of gold, a little bit of XP, but just that little bit of extra damage just helps enough, you know? And of course, you know, you look for that. You get a good beacon fight, you get a gold fury, you know? It's just one of those things that you don't need to get, but it certainly helps you kind of open up that game just a little bit more.
Mid-god sitting there realizing, yeah, that's a Mulan, kind of like what we were saying. You know, she was doing about 100-200 damage before, and here's up the 400 or 500 damage per ability, just swinging already.
Yeah, definitely. She's one of those gods that just puts out an unreasonable amount of damage. And again, she's kind of in the same position as some of those immobile mages, you know, like Opwash. He does so much damage, but just with lackluster mobility and survivability. So she's just so strong.
Biggest thing I want to point out right now is the ward vision across the map right now. A lot of ward control by Ice Age's side. Same thing we saw last time. You know, they had this safety net here, which allows them to stand and play their comfort, so to say, based off of where their ward positions are. It's allowing them to really push into these objectives a little bit freely, I want to say, because of the amount of vision that they have.
Yeah, the amount of wards that they have even towards the enemy side is definitely admirable. As this Horus gets pulled out by the chain, not looking too good here. Fear no evil on the mark. Shell is forced, unfortunately not quite able to get the kill there. Going to look for it under the tower, but not quite. Aegis forced out. Monkey Bounce goes crazy. Susano ult comes through, but he's in the middle of 4 people and he shall fall.
Land Susano into an Ares and you're going with this blink. I just don't know if it's enough.
Yeah, certainly not enough in that fight, as this could very well be a Gold Fury. I mean, Mulan has made the rotation, does go ahead and teleport in. Tons of damage coming out. This Merlin Mulan are certainly not something you just pull a Gold Fury in front of as
Hellfar's
Ice
not
Age
too
backs
great.
up.
Absolutely. Hellfar's not too great over on Ice Age's side. Merlin coming back. Let's back off from the Gold Fury call, guys. We did secure a tier 1 tower for the Ice Age over on the solo lane side since they didn't rotate. So I guess, you know, we're still walking away with a little bit of a win here. Yuki kind of out of mana and Mulan wanting more. Unable to get any more. That looks like that's going to round it out for this rotation. Got to return to base, return to lane, and return to farming.
Yeah, gonna return to that lane. Unfortunately, a tower down. Morgan Le Fay just stays, knocks that tower down, and gives himself just a little bit of reprieve from having to deal with a Mulan that just wants to kill you.
Morgan Le Fay realizing, he's like, all right, you know, if I rotate in there, it's not really going to help me out too much. It's not going to help you guys out, but here's what I can do. Apply pressure over onto this side of the map and take a Pyromancer absolutely free. Don't mind if we do. Mulan's like, you know, you're going to pay for that as I'm moving into this jungle side. Definitely getting the fair trade here as she's getting more the damage trade. Kukulkan coming in, she's going to be forced to disengage.
Yeah, get some good damage on, and again, looking for this blue buff. This blue buff is maybe the most contested objective on the map. Unfortunately goes the way of the Morgan Le Fay this time, but Susano in the area looking for a little bit more. Not going to teleport in and look for that pole, so Morgan Le Fay going to just get out for free.
She doesn't have a full defense item online yet. She could still be a target for our order side killer Kappas. She's going to have that breastplate online very soon, and then we see with the Pythags, the healing plus the breastplate, this guy's going to put in work. As soon as she presses that forward button, she just becomes a tanky healing menace with the burst damage.
Yeah, definitely, and with the amount of gold she has in hand, once she backs, she is going to be tough to deal with. She's looking at finishing up that breastplate and still having at least a tier 2 item, I would say.
20 seconds out from this next beacon, and it looks like the killer Kappas are the ones to group up this time. 5 strong over here on the Gold Fury side of the map, and it looks like they just want to pull the Gold Fury outright. Speaking of, we have the members here, and we spot Morgan Le Fay still over in the solo lane. Health bar is getting whittled down on the Gold Fury. It's about 60%, 50% and moving down. Ice Age isn't really able to contest this one. Kukulkan standing nearby looking for the ultimate. Very good disengage, dropping that Gold Fury as Horus ends up taking the trade himself. That's what happens when you get pulled back in by the areas, that lack of CC immunity. Hunbots, though, end up trading his life. Midgod ends up going down to Crouton Crusader, and Halo on this Chernobog, running him down. Aegis coming out from Kukulkan along with a shell from our Ares. Unfortunate chain a little bit off the mark. We got some more health bars here, but wanting to keep going is Killer Kappas, and they are keep going in lead, and they are getting more for this. Morgan Le Fay comes out as Killer Kappas just attempt to disengage now. They got 2 picks. Gold Fury didn't go the way of their team, but they might secure their first beacon of the set. No.
You spoke just a little bit too soon. We do see some heated exchanges coming out over this beacon.
I said
it looks
nay.
like
You do
can't give up a streak.
Nah.
However, we do see the Horus coming in here. Does get chained, so he's just gonna say, all right. You landed the chain. No, I'm leaving. That's my bad.
Too soon indeed. Ice Age says we want the perfect here on these beacons. They're there. You know, whether it be early, whether it be, you know, maybe a little bit late after these team fights, they're like, okay, you know, we're not giving this up. We might have lost the team fight a little bit, got forced off, but nah. Don't even try.
Yeah, definitely. Just keeping that control of the beacon yet again, just so focused on that. And they just play around that so well. They might not have the most health bars, but they have just enough to be there.
Chernobog's sitting over on this solo side of the map, but mid tower is down, so our Merlin has to farm a little bit safer over here. I love taking down this mid tower a little bit early. Opens up the mid, although, you know, 19 minutes, I wouldn't say it's a little early, but really opens up the map, and it makes this mid laner really have to play safe to get any more of his farm.
Yeah, now instead of, you know, looking for, oh, they're going to come from left or right, or they're going to come from behind me, how many more awards do I have to really put out to be secure in the mid lane, you know? And then you're looking at, 3 openings into mid, the additional come out from that tower falling. So you just have to be so careful once that tower falls.
Or before grouping here in mid, as Gold Fury is up, Pyromancer respawns. It looks like teams likely going to maybe go for a fight here. Or are we going to see a trade in objectives? Morgan Le Fay moving towards the Pyromancer, but they recognize that the Gold Fury is possibly being looked at by the killer.
Yeah, definitely. With these, with the teams grouping around this Gold Fury, it's definitely tough for one person to just pull it. I mean, even if it's only mid god there, just a Hunbot's ult on top of an objective can absolutely steal it versus 5 people. So you have to be so careful if you're the killer Kappas.
Yuki happily just sitting off to the side, getting his farm online, recognizing nobody's taking anything really over here. We're all just kind of standing across the river like we said earlier, just staring at each other, pointing at each other. Mulan realizing she has to get out of here, a little bit too deep in the enemy territory she was. Blink and ultimate expended in order to save her life.
Yeah, definitely not a good spot to be in. All of a sudden people just said, oh guys, Mulan just walked through our mid wave behind tier 1. Let's go fight her.
Very good recognizing that from Ice Age and very good capitalizing off of it. Spread out though, Killer Kappas are deciding to pick up this Gold Fury and they are burning it quick. Gets down to 50% HP already, moving it down to a quarter HP. Ice Age coming on in, there's Kukulkan Kano, but it's not enough. Gold Fury goes the way of Killer Kappas, and Ice Age wants revenge. They end up picking up the Horus on the back of the Morgan Le Fay. But Merlin decides, mid-god, you're going down, and Yuki is here, taking the ADC trade. 2 for 1 so far, going in favor of Ice Age. Still pushing in for more, and they end up getting more. Merlin falling down himself. Flabby Man picks up Nasiox.
Yeah, definitely. Looked good for a second from the Killer Kappas there, but just unfortunately not enough gas in the tank to take both the Gold Fury and the fight after. And 3-1, but you get a Gold Fury? I'd say it's pretty even. Not so even in Game of Shadows gets ran down by this Mulan, and it's definitely a possibility. He's doing his best to get out, but a good pull back, that should be death even with the beads. Crouton Crusader picks up his 4th kill.
You're not able to get away from a god like Mulan when she is landing those grabs constantly and just on top of you. You feel like you really can't escape. Killer Kappa is now trying to defend this Pyromancer that Ice Age is so graciously running into with ease. Beads come out from the Susano to try to get away from the Ares ult. And it looks like our Horus is getting a little too deep here as ultimates are dropping left and right from Ice Age. Maybe getting a pick here, and it seems like both teams are really just doing their best to either disengage after that Pyromancer fight. Surviving on the back line is the Morgan Le Fay to 1 HP fight against not a big deal. He does end up getting the pick, but trades his life for it. And Killer Kappas wants more. They don't want to let this this Pyromancer go away for free. But it looks like that's all we are going to see on that front. We got a couple low health bars, a couple low mana bars, so they might end up pushing down this mid-tier 1 tower right before the beacon spawns.
Yeah, might finally have their chance to go ahead and pick themselves up a beacon. Still not quite spawning though, so there is time for Ice Age to get back off that gray screen, get back in position, and make sure that they continue their streak.
Gotta keep the streak, man. Gotta keep that beacon streak. Ice Age doing just that. Here comes Ares, like we can see Ginkgo just marching up mid lane, staring at that beacon light. He wants it. Look at him go. The man marching, the myth. So excited. Look at him. He's so happy to be here.
He's like, yeah, beacon, beacon,
yeah.
yeah. And I mean, you can't blame him. He's been performing so incredibly well on this Ares. 4-0-8, that speaks for itself. There's been 12 kills. There's 13 kills. He's been part of 12.
Kill participation, and when you see it out of your support, you know it's a good game. Your support's just putting in the work. He's there constantly applying that lockdown, applying that CC, applying that peel for your own teammates. Work's getting done. And when you see a slash like 4-0-8 coming out of your support, you're like, okay, well, maybe it's not just the CC and the lockdown that he's providing. He's kind of also just tearing into the opponents himself and dealing the damage. We see him sitting there kind of tying the enemy as we see a grouping over here in the mid lane.
Good chains
There is
come
Jade's coming
out.
out at 3-man ultimate.
Almost
Gets the
three.
beats of 1, but pulls in 2 into the tier 1 tower. Hunbot's ult following it on up, and our Chernobog is a little bit out of position. He pops the Aegis and gets away 1 HP.
Just barely survives there. That Kukulkan ult just a hair off the mark. If that lands, I think we're looking at 2 kills, possibly more on the back end after the Hunbots comes in. That could have very easily been a Fire Giant. Just unfortunately not quite able to make it there. Force comes in, does get chained. He is looking a little bit worse for wear, but not quite enough.
Both teams trying to recollect themselves as the Titans are meeting in mid, but unfortunately for Rolio, he's just not going to be enough. That dash in might have been a little bit too much, biting off more than he could chew. You know, when your damage dealers, they fall back, what do you do as a support? You know, you got to be a little bit more cautious in that front. You don't have the people who can actually follow up on your CC.
Yeah, CC without follow-up doesn't do too much of anything unless it just kills somebody. So, definitely got to be just a little bit more cautious.
Kind of just an invitation for the enemy team to follow up. Grouping for the Gold Fury is Ice Age pulling it right away. No hesitation, getting it down to 50% already. They have the Kukulkan ult for the secure. Mulan is walking on in. Very nice and happy. Crusader Crusader showing them they're not going to get this for free, and Kukulkan ult comes through, and Ice Age does secure it along with hitting the Mulan. Very low HP bar now as a result, and she ends up falling. Low HP bars across the board from Ice Age, and Killer Kappas is on the chase down.
Unfortunately,
Looks like they're
Susana
just too far away.
yeah, just not quite able to close the distance as fast as he would want, and everybody gets away with a couple hundred.
Chernobog ult was just not ready in time. Hopefully the Killer Kappas can respond with an objective of their own before Ice Age retakes the map. But looks like starting to swing in a 3K gold lead in favor of Ice Age. It's going to keep moving that way unless we can start moving in towards some objectives from the Killer Kappas.
Definitely, I mean, they just continue to play the map well. Ice Age is really showing their cold, calculated nature. Just playing this map, pinpoint. We're just going to go from objective to objective. We're going to take good fights. Even the fights that don't look like we won, we come out on top, especially looking at that golden XP graph. So definitely just doing a great job of playing this map.
What it's really coming down to is this warding and grouping. Ice Age is doing a phenomenal job executing their team comp because they are getting the vision up on who they need to pick off, and when they are picking off, they are grouped with the right targets. You always see the Kukulkan sitting around the areas. You see the Hunbots coming in off the side. Artemis sitting also on top. They are layering their CCs, not dumping everything at once. They're playing it very well and synergized as a team. Same thing we were saying in game 1. Killer Kappas needs to start picking apart the utility over on the Ice Age's side in order to make a difference and really put a presence in these team fights. Pyromancer just getting deleted by the Killer Kappas. Kukulkan ult does come out, but is unsuccessful at stealing away. Pyromancer goes away of Killer Kappas.
Does go the way. They do go ahead and finally manage to pick up that bomb. I was scared they were maybe just a little bit too afraid to step back up to it, but they do go ahead and pick that up, and definitely going to help. Puts a little bit of a dent in that gold lead for sure. But still, definitely a tough game to be in, especially with the team fight presence with that Artemis, Ares, Hunbot.
So much CC. What do you do? Hunbot's though deciding to go for the split push over here and dual lane side.
I'm looking to get just a little bit of something done.
He's definitely going to be able to pressure down this tier 2 tower. A lot of power on that character. Hopefully he doesn't get himself caught out though. Chernobog ult is ready and Susano is closing in fast. Up to Killer Kappas to recognize it, but it looks like he's going to get away with no problem.
It does look like we are having a little bit of a skirmish around the beacon. There's no beacon up. We're just fighting here because we like the scenery, honestly. It's big, it's glowy.
It's like an arena, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little thematic fighting area.
Other than that, though, we're not seeing anything too crazy. One thing I did want to just point out is that this Chernobog, I don't believe has built pen yet. I think their only pen is on that Demon Blade. Yeah.
You
That's
are
not
correct on that, yeah.
one of those things. There's no Kins, there's no Xe, so it's going to be really hard for them to deal with this Ares as he hits a massive pull, pulls beads off of several, pulls the frontliners back. Crouton Crusader does go ahead and fall 5-0 and 11 on the Ares.
Front line is down, double relics coming out from the Chernobog, and Ice Age is still pushing forward. They want more. They're gonna go off towards looking for the Susano. Unfortunately, not able to find him. Aegis coming out from the Merlin, who's sticking around trying to defend this tier 2. He's gonna be kind of unsuccessful. Gets a blink away. And it looks like Ice Age is doing this, not for the tier 2, but for the Fire Giant. What a blink play by this Ares, though. Being able to pull 4, beads of 2, destroy the frontliners in the process, and still have all the utility left on the Ice Age side. They still had the Artemis, they still had Kukulkano, they still had the ability to just dump more into Killer Kappas as they responded. But they're not really whittling down this Fire Giant too well.
Yeah, not getting it down quite as much as they'd like to, and with not a big deal there, they're just not able to really just pull that. You know, it's such a hard thing. Midgod's already super low, getting poked down. It's just not something that they can afford to really stick to.
No problem, but it might cost him a beacon, as we can see. And it looks like Horus is right here. Rolio is saying, guess what?
The streak!
It's over.
Come on,
and the
just step off.
Goes the way of the Killer Kappas. Alright guys,
they needed it.
It's it. That's game.
That's our hero though, right? Rolio, that's the hero for sure for Killer Kappas. Finally gets them on the board and beacon secures. Does not care about anything else. Gotta get that done.
Oni Fury being looked at by the Killer Kappas, possibly, but Ice Age is saying, you know what, you want the Gold Fury, but we're gonna look towards the Fire Giant. Starting to head that way, but unfortunately Kukulkan just backing. Teams are gonna return to a nice little stalemate here and group up back in mid, possibly, it looks like.
Yeah, they were definitely thinking about looking towards that FG, but Horus just kind of looking at the Artemis in the mid lane, not gonna really let that happen. Gonna say, hey guys, they're heading to FG. I don't care about Oni.
Neither team really wanted to commit to an objective, yeah, as a result. And so we return to this lovely standoff, clear some wards, get some vision up, and the Pyromancer is falling quickly. Pyro bombs, I'm telling ya. Gonna be good as we see Midgod get poked out a little bit in the mid. Down to half health. He does have the Bumba Spear, so he is able to go around and just heal up off of his camps, if there are any up. But this mid tower might fall in the process. Killer Kappas marching in as 5. And then marching out as 5. It looks like they aren't able to shove it down just yet. Aren't able to find that opening that they need. Midgod's still floating around the area with that ultimate ready to come into this fight a little bit late.
Yeah,
it looks like that is a defended tier 1 mid tower. 33 minutes.
That's it. Keeping that map closed. Looking for Midgod, but gotta respect it. You know, you're in Mulan. You're looking for those 1v1s. All of a sudden, your team says, "Bro, everybody's coming. Everybody's coming. You gotta run." Nah, Mulan. I'm fine.
Oh,
but
no,
like Mulan is not fine. Takes the Tusky and
mantle proc.
Unlockable. Great mantle proc gets him completely out of danger. For a second, I thought he had beads, but
I had to double check.
Perfectly timed mantle.
I was like, did he sell one of his relics in the time that I wasn't watching? No, that mantle proc really saved his life there. But it's going to allow the Ice Age to start picking up this Gold Fury. Gets down to about half HP, and Killer Kappas makes their entrance. Huge Kukulkano, but it's not enough. As not a big deal, ends up picking him up. Low HP bars, low mana bars, and Kalo with this Chernobog ult ends up securing Muki on the Artemis. Following it up, Blink in from Crouton Crusader ends up picking up the Ares. And it looks like Killer Kappas are on the front. They're pushing into this mid-tier 2 tower, and they're deciding, never mind with that. We're going to go for the Fire Giant.
Yeah, absolutely good decision there. It is EFG. Hunbots doesn't quite have his ult back yet. Did go ahead and use it in that fight onto the Mulan right before they got mantle proc to safety. It is going to go ahead and burn pretty quickly. That Merlin certainly putting in a lot of the work with that fire stance. Unfortunately, not able to step in as much as he'd like to. Still going to do what he can.
Bars. Are you able to contest it even? It looks like they think they can, but they're coming up a little short. Ooh, Beats and Negas coming out from our Chernobog as he ate that knockup. Fire Giant being our VIP right now, our MVP. Dealing damage during
nobody
this fight.
has health bars, but just not quite able. Good dash through to keep the Hunbots away from the ADC with EFG. What a great play. Some people might say, it's such a waste. You barely got anything off it. No, you saved your ADC that just got EFG. That's one of the most important people on the map right now. The guy that touches towers and then they just disintegrate.
What a swing, though, I have to say. What is that, a freaking 6K swing in favor of 7K swing in favor of Killer Kappas? They won a huge team fight around the Gold Fairy, went straight to the Fire Giant pit, took the Fire Giant, got some picks off the back end of it. They're in the driver's seat right now with enhanced Fire Giant in pocket, looking towards this Gold Fury and getting ready to push up these lanes, clear up these towers, and extend that lead in their favor.
Yeah, definitely. We could see this, 2,000 gold lead turn into a really quick 7-8K gold lead if they're able to go ahead, grab this Oni Fury and those 3 towers. So could definitely see them just absolutely take control of this game if they play this EFG well.
Looks like they should be able to secure it with no sweat, given their position, given their EFG, and given the fact that Ice Age decided, we gotta kind of reset, collect ourselves. That fight didn't go too well. Let's figure out what happened. Let's see what we can do to improve in the next one.
And it looks like we are seeing some grouping up in the left, looking to at least knock down that tower first. And I mean, tower certainly isn't healthy to begin with. As soon as it gets hit by, 1 or 2 Chernobog autos, it's going to look a lot worse for wear. So with those Oni waves starting to push, that EFG could definitely see some big plays coming out. But on the other side, you have Ares ult, you have Hunbot ult, you have Artemis ult. This is a very hard team to siege into.
A lot of team fight oriented ults and a lot of lockdown potential on the Ice Age's side. This is going to be a difficult tier 2 tower siege even. But with these Oni waves coming on up, Killer Kappas are getting ready.
Yeah, it looks like they kind of missed their mark. The Oni wave does go ahead and fall there with no real issues. Susano looking to maybe look for a pick onto this Hunbots in the mid lane, but not going to get too much. Just going to go ahead and back off. Not let too much happen there.
Looks like the midway Oni wave is going to fall as well. Chipping away over at the dual lane tower, and they're going to end up getting it. No problem right there. A little bit of poke on both sides. Susano pushing into mid as well, trying to get this mid tower on the 1v1 against the Hunbots. Both going to come up unsuccessful. Team's probably just going to rotate in, it looks like. Go ahead, clean up these towers with their EFG, extend that lead, get some gold, and we'll see what we can do from there.
Yeah, definitely playing this pretty safe. On the other hand, though, Ice Age is playing this really safe. Letting those tier 2 towers fall without using those ults, not looking to really expend that until they're fighting with that, 6th man in the Phoenix.
Only 1 tower remaining on the Ice Age's side, and it looks like Killer Kappas is headed that direction after they get the Pyromancer, and not until after they get that beacon. We might see a swing here with these, I told you, ever since that first beacon, that's it. It's over now.
So as soon as those beacons start going the other way,
whoever has
just
beacon
over.
control.
Hunbot's a little bit out of position here with the Mulan behind. Not quite going to be able to capitalize onto it. Mulan in a bit of trouble here, taking quite a bit of damage.
Ice Age is saying, is Hunbots out of position or is Mulan out of position? Talk about some damage coming out from this team on the Ice Age's side. Even with EFG, even with your tanky support, it didn't matter in the face
And
of
she's
the
full
Ares and
health.
Morgan Le Fay.
Full leader. and full health. Did she take damage? I couldn't see.
Wow. Enhanced Fire Giant wearing off. Teams are going to start grouping up with this next EFG. We approach the 39-minute mark here in Game 2, Ice Age versus Killer Kappas.
Again, look at the gold differential. They went from a pretty reasonable amount down to now about a 7,000 gold lead. Just great swing off of that EFG that really just came from a great mid fight.
Oh yeah. So they got the EFG, they got the Gold Fury, they got 2 towers, they got 2 beacons, they got Pyromancer. They're really utilizing this Gold Fury to extend that lead and get it back. But you know, once you're getting up to this 40-minute mark, that gold difference doesn't really amount a whole lot other than, you know, maybe a 3k pot here or there. So I'm wondering which team is going to get the ward vision up, as the Fire Giant's just having a party by himself right now and spawns in. Getting the ward vision down, getting ready, being prepared. Teams are both very spread out right now.
Yeah, definitely going to need to see some grouping start to come out over here. Mulan taking some space, getting some wards down already. Going to go ahead and steal the Chester. Not the Chester, anything but the Chester. You don't take a man's Chester like that, that's mean.
Chester for some poke. Both of our front lines sitting over here from Killer Kappas, pushed on up, going to clear some ward vision. Very aggressive positioning from the front line here on Killer Kappa's side, but their damage has fallen behind a little bit, trying to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, if any tanks are going to get poked, it's good for it to be a Mulan. Tusky comes out not quite on the mark. Mulan is here, forces both relics, and the fight breaks out.
A little early on the Horus stun, and Yuki's able to walk away with his life, no sweat. Honestly, with barely even any poke. Both teams kind of just neutralizing that team fight. Still a very aggressive positioning though from the Killer Kappas. Ultimates expended on both sides of the team, both ADC ultimates, and they on ultimate, and a lot of relics getting used. Mulan's still positioned kind of aggressive, but she doesn't have her damage dealers up with her. She's gonna eat a lot of poke in return.
Yeah, taking a ton of poke, but the FRH is starting just a little bit. Not going to get too much damage off it yet. There we go.
Mulan can stand up front that far with how the HP bar is on this EFG. She might find herself in trouble as she's getting wrapped up, and the EFG is getting closed in on by the team members of Ice Age. Blink Ult from the areas gets 2, pulls 2, no beats huge, and Fire Giant goes the way of Ice Age without the need of the Kukulkan ult for the Secure. And Yuki is here, picking up 1, picking up 2, marching it down. Wow, Morgan Le Fay walking away 1 HP. Nuyuki with a triple kill, and not a big deal. Pick up Nuyuki with a quadra kill, running it down right now. He wants more, give him the penta. Look at him, man. He wants it. He's foaming at the mouth right now, seeing red, and Ares has already been locking down that Merlin. It looks like he's unfortunately gonna get away.
Yeah, it does force the beads out though. With those chains, so much damage comes out, and this is exactly what Ice Age needed. They just barely managed to go ahead and snag that EFG. They have a bomb for this Phoenix. Are they going to be able to siege into this Titan? Merlin does not have those relics, so he is in a bit of a tough spot. Ares looking to pull him out of the fountain. There's nothing available. Tusky drops, and unfortunately he's going to fall, and I think that's going to be the game.
Titan whittling down. Aegis used by the Kukulkan. Tank a little bit more. Kukulkan falls, but so does the Titan for Killer Kappas. 2-0. Ice Age take the set. Wow.
What I love the play from Game of Shadows there. I'm gonna Aegis so my ADC can hit the Titan. That's a gamer. That's a gamer move. There were minions there. He could have dropped it for minions, but he said,
those weren't their
"I
minions.
got this."
Those really unbelievable. You know, the game really started to look like it was going in the favor of the Killer Kappas after that one fight in their Secure of the Fire Giant, but came up a little bit short on that Fire Giant, that last Fire Giant. Wow, what a grouping. And the steal over here from Ice Age just swung the fight.
It didn't just swing the fight, it swung the game. They pick up some low health bars off the back of that EFG, and they just managed to sneak in that win. And that's always the danger past that 35-40 minute mark. If we lose one fight real bad, we lose the game, and that's just what it is. They walk it up mid, there's one defender, we have buttons for him, and they go ahead and take that second game. And just a great showing of why you might be down, it might look bad, but you're not out of the game.
Absolutely. It's any man's game. 30 minutes into the game, 40 minutes into the game. Like you're saying, one team fight, all of a sudden, that'll do. Especially with that EFG on their back pocket. They're able to just march right in. Who cares about backdoor protections when we can just destroy your Phoenix and the Titan and the game? What a great set, though, coming out from both of these teams. You know, that last one felt like it was anybody's game at any point. Very good. And that's gonna wrap us up here. Ice Age versus Killer Kappas. Phenomenal job from both of these teams. We had a really great set, guys. I'm Zach Vexel, ruler of men, joining me on the desk, and Lunar over on the spectator. Thank you all very, very much.